There we go.
Hey, all right. Welcome back. We're going to now switch over to Guilty Gear Xrd, and for that, we are going to invite Paul, a.k.a. Super Effects. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, it's not too bad. You know, just getting back through traffic of Comic-Con. That was
That's right.
fun.
Yeah, I bet. Was that fun, though?
No, it was 3 hours. It was awful.
Oh, no, I mean the event.
Yeah, no, Comic-Con's always great.
Yeah,
awesome.
Cool.
Good stuff. God, good
Cool.
stuff.
So we want to talk about gear, and I guess you wanted to start off with the 3v3.
Yeah, I think the story going into the 3v3 is the fact that it feels like nobody really knows what the teams are going to be now.
Oh.
Because we had the whole Marlon Pie problem, but he's not the only person who is looks like he's going to be out of luck, because there's a lot of people who, you know, only having the 1 month to really get their passport and make sure they had everything in order have been scrambling. So a lot of teams are kind of falling apart. A lot of people are switching around.
Wow.
I mean, if more than one team are falling apart, though, I imagine a lot of teams are kind of joining forces now, right?
Yeah, you're getting a lot of pieces from teams kind of combining. People just being like, oh, well, my team fell apart, I don't have a team. Wait, but you have two because you were still looking for one anyway.
Yeah.
Dude, I even see in chat that Zynak is still looking for a team, dude.
Yeah, okay.
Jeez. Okay.
So, one of the big teams that's still, as far as I know, still together going into it is going to be Team Midwest, which is going to be Elvin Shadow, Black Snake, and AKA.
Okay.
And now that the East Coast doesn't really have, you know, the team that everybody thought they were going to have, which was the team I wanted to see, to be honest with you. It's three of their strongest players from the Northeast, and I wanted them to have a shot.
Who was that?
That was going to be Marlon Pie, Zidane, and Lord Knight. So, because that team fell apart, Zidane's not actually even playing in the 3v3 anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not sure who Lord Knight is playing with at this point.
Wait, so Zidane's just not going to play at all anymore? Like
he's going to play in the singles tournament, but
yeah,
right,
but I mean, even in the team.
He wanted to do Team East Coast.
Oh. So just because he can't get the team that he wants, he's not going to do a team at all, huh?
Well, I think it was more he didn't want to scramble around.
Okay.
So basically, he felt like once he had his team locked in, that was it, and then he doesn't want to be one of these people running around trying to make sure that he has to get everything in order to find a new team.
Right.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Sure.
I know one of the other teams that was tentative was going to be Beautiful Dude, Fu, and EG from SoCal, and that's a pretty strong team. And there's a few other teams that I've heard sort of unconfirmed, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, to be completely honest, because I know a lot of people have been really trying to expedite passports, and that's not always going the way everybody hoped.
Right, sure.
So, kind of a mess in that way.
Yeah, I even heard Nerd Josh is looking for a team right now, right?
Yeah, there's a whole big deal behind that too. I know Steve was trying to get his passport, and they were going to team, but Steve doesn't know if he can get his now.
Right. Okay.
So,
okay.
It's a hard thing, you know. You only have a month, and you have to make sure you get expedited. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And sometimes you don't even get it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, to be honest, you can't really blame it, because it's already really awesome that we're getting this opportunity to have this qualifier at Evo.
Yeah.
I know Arcs, that Axis tried really hard getting this together for the States, working with Arxis and such. So, it's cool that we have it. Unfortunately, the side effect is that we really only gave a lot of people only a month to be able to get a chance to do that. So,
yeah, like you said, it's an awesome, opportunity, but it does kind of blow that people had to scramble around, and a lot of people are actually paying money that may not have a payout for it, a lot of extra money. Right. So,
okay,
but it kind of happens. So, kind of moving on to the singles tournament.
Yeah. The
biggest story, obviously, is the large influx of Japanese players we're going to have this year.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Because almost 970 players for Guilty Gear Xrd easily, just by hundreds, magnitudes, like 9 times the number of players we've ever had almost.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
When you see the list of players who are coming, it's also a scary feeling.
Right.
Because we're talking about players that have won SBO in the past, players that have, top 3'd at Arc Revo, people like Nage, Ogawa, Woshige, Shuto. These are people who are the gods of their characters.
Right.
So what you're looking at right now is the Evernote that Ho-chan, formerly known as Stun Edge, put together. It's not perfectly up to date, and he does miss a few of the more local U.S. players, but it's a pretty good guide for who is the big names in each pool.
Yeah, let me post a link of that into the chat for you
I'll go for
guys
it.
so that people can take a look at that if they want to and follow along. So there you go. Yeah, a lot of good players, but you can definitely see in that list a lot of Japanese players for sure. So in fact, I think outside of Ultra, Xrd had the highest percentage of Japanese players in the tournament. It might even be higher than Ultra, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't Persona? I think it might have been Persona.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Anyway, there are a lot of Japanese players.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, because it feels like each pool at least has one Japanese player, and a lot of them have 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's pretty big.
So that's a lot of spread out players. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of people who are unknowns even in terms of the Japanese scene. Ho-chan definitely didn't recognize certain players in each pool, and he knows a lot about the Japanese scene,
Right.
going back and forth from the US to Japan a lot.
Right, okay.
But there's still a lot of killers and a lot of landmines that people should be worried about.
Dude, some of these pools look ridiculous. Wow.
Put it back up?
So if like I'm looking at just right here at the top of block 4 in H145, we have Nage Faust, obviously a Japanese player, but Latif Zato is there, as well as Black Snake Venom.
That's definitely one of the pools I had sort of marked down as I'm really interested to see, because I don't know how much Latif has been playing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But Latif was always super strong. He was one of the first people to wow people by playing Pad, Eddie, or Zato now. And he was, I would say at some point, probably the strongest, if not top 3 in the US.
Right.
So if he's been playing, I mean, Zato is still a ridiculously strong character in this game. He's still top tier. I can't imagine that he's lost all of that. But how much does he know the Xrd meta?
Right. Some people are saying that he hasn't been playing much. Apparently, Latif has said himself that he hasn't been playing much. So.
Okay. So.
But even so, like if you look here at I-137, we've got Nerd Josh, Q, and Diano, like all in one pool.
Well, and Ryan Hunter's in that pool as well too.
Oh, jeez.
So could be some Venom mirror matches, and what's really cool about this year's Evo is that there's actually players from all over the US. So the reason I say that this is kind of cool is because in the past, mostly Midwest and East Coast have looked at Evo as a West Coast major.
Right.
Because the cost is prohibitive and just time for people to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the fact that a lot of Northeast is actually going to be able to make it this year, as well as the Midwest, is something that doesn't get to happen all the time for us. We don't get to really congregate together as a united scene very often, and that alone makes me excited for Evo.
Yeah, no, that's because that's the thing, right? I mean, especially Guilty Gear, because Guilty Gear is one of those games where a lot of the top players have always come from the Midwest and from like Texas and stuff like that. So, I mean, the nice thing is that for games like Street Fighter and stuff like that, a lot of the strong scenes are in California, so you still know it's a pretty representative, a group of people at EVO. But for Guilty Gear, I always felt like that never quite got the case, because a lot of the best players are the ones that have the most trouble traveling out to the event. So, yeah, that's absolutely really exciting. I mean, could this be one of the first times that all the players are in one event like this?
I would say definitely, and probably, there's maybe happened 2 or 3 other times ever, where you just get this sort of cross-section of the country all together in one space.
Because I know like Frosty Faustings and a lot of times NEC also does a really good job for bringing in all the anime players as well, right?
Oh, NEC is definitely NEC and Final Round, probably even more so than Evo in the past, have actually brought more of the players together.
Makes sense, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, because for the longest time, I'm from the Midwest originally, it sort of felt like West Coast never came out East, and we were all expected to go to Evo.
Right, yeah.
So the scenes didn't really meet very often at all.
Right.
So there was sort of there was beef back then about it between West Coast and the rest of the country. But we all got older and we sort of moved on, and now it's just sort of like a rivalry.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's good to hear.
But I think the other thing that just beyond that's going to be really interesting to see this year in terms of Guilty Gear is that obviously the new players to Guilty Gear are changing the way that the old school has to play and is forcing them to get better, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Some notable players we can talk about are Lord Knight, Kid Viper, Pain, and Banana Ken, who all have done really well at other games. Normally other anime games, but obviously Jose, his Street Fighter credits under his belt, and Pain actually came from playing KOF and other stuff like that too. But these players are pushing the old school players forward just because they're getting so good at this game so fast.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, what is it? Is it like a different style of play, new kind of tech, option selects and stuff like that?
I feel like they're playing the game for what it is, more at, like you say, the tech options. Like learning option selects, like basically labbing things up, trying to find new things that they just haven't seen in videos, making their own videos.
Right.
And I think that's something that the US scene, as we came from, we didn't always do.
Right.
We definitely had some players who did that, but we weren't pushing it forward as much. And I think these new players, as they've shown just in recent tournaments, getting a lot of either top 16s, top 8s, that they've adapted really quickly. Whether it's something they brought from the other Air Dash games, or maybe it's just their quality as players themselves, it's making the scene better.
That's great.
One of the things, I mean, this kind of parallels even just the Street Fighter, because for a long time, the Street Fighter, I always make the distinction between the emotion players and the science players, right? Daigo was an emotion player. He was winning Evo. And then all of a sudden, Infiltration, who I feel like is more scientific, comes and wins. And then Shen wins the next year. And Shen is a super scientist. So even in Street Fighter, the scientists are starting to really push the boundaries of the game, and they're starting to win a lot more. And I feel like that's just old school kind of versus new school mentality, right? A lot of old school players are based on reads and stuff like that. So a lot of the old school Guilty Gear players might be feeling that same kind of pressure now. So.
Well, in SF4, those older players like Daigo are picking up the science side
too.
For sure. So is that also happening in Gear?
I think you're starting to see, definitely, in terms of that, especially like with the LFL players. Obviously, Kid Viper and Banana Ken are new to the game, but you got Nerd Josh, who is working on his own stuff, kind of taking bits and pieces of what they're doing and turning it into something else. And then they'll look at Japanese videos, different players like Sharon, and what they're doing, and they'll still turn it into something yet again.
Right.
So you got to give a lot of credit to a guy like Josh, who has always been of this mindset, even though he's super old school at this point. But
that's cool. That's cool. Well, I mean, here, obviously, this is going to be a major story going into Guilty Gear, right? And it's sad to say this, but does America have even a chance at really making any dents, even in top 8? Because recently there was, at Topanga, they were interviewing a lot of the players. They interviewed Kazunoko, and they asked him, and he was like, he won CEO, and he was like, yeah, America's not very good at the anime game. Like, they're good at Persona, but Guilty Gear was still pretty easy for me, and they're not very good in that game and stuff like that. Like, where does America stand on this whole thing?
Getting top 8 is going to be very hard for the United States. But I think, like Brkrdave was saying earlier, I think you'll see 1, maybe 2 crack top 8.
Okay.
That kind of happened at Blazblue last year as well, right? So
Nakiel, formerly SG, cracked it last year. But the thing, too, is that if you watch top 16 in Blazblue, top 32 in Blazblue last year, you saw a lot of U.S. players being able to break down some of these Japanese players and get wins. So obviously, given how many Japanese players are coming, the hope is that there will be some good upsets that we'll get to walk away taking something from. Like, hey, I got to play this player And you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought, or maybe I knew that matchup a lot better than I thought I did.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the U.S. players, is there, and right now, the favorite is Elven Shadow out of all the American players. Is there anyone else you think besides Elven Shadow to look out for in terms of U.S. players doing well?
The players I've sort of talked about, these new school players, I think they're sort of ready to break through. Mm-hmm. I think it's possible to see one of them get top 16 or top 8. I know somebody like Lord Knight would love to be able to say that he top 8 at Guilty Gear.
For sure.
Some of the other players who I think are really strong and have shots are some of the old school Midwest heads, friends of mine, aka Black Snake.
Right.
Zidane from the East Coast is a great Leo player.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say about certain players, whether it's from the East Coast or now from the West Coast, because obviously with our tournament situation down here in SoCal, we haven't had a lot of it, is that you got to worry about your inbred playing habits.
Sure.
You're so used to playing the same group of people.
Yes, yes.
Can you bring it out on a national stage and play people you've never touched before and be like, okay, I can adjust to this person immediately?
Right.
Right. Because, I mean, at SCR Prelude, we saw, like, Beautiful Dude and Foom, I'm sorry, and like IG do really well, but it's just mostly playing against the people that they played against all the time, right?
Yeah.
So,
EG, whatever, is another great example of a player who could do really well at Evo, because he plays a very clean soul, and his confirms are amazing, and he seems to really understand the flow of the game. He's an old school player, although he wasn't seen very much around the country because he was just doing life stuff.
Yeah. It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and there's a bunch of those from different regions. Yat from NorCal is another one who apparently has been playing since Reload and sort of reappeared with Xrd and has just been doing really well up there.
Right.
So.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if we could get, like, even just 2 players from the U.S. in the top 8, you know, just kind of making a statement.
Well, do you know if there are players from outside of the U.S. and also not Japanese who are a threat?
There are some good players, but I don't know too much about them, honestly. Kusanagi is coming from Mexico, and he did really well at Frosty Faustings this year. He made top 8 in that, and he plays Ramlethal.
Ooh, nice.
And that kind of leads into another story, which is how much player experience is everybody going to have for Xrd? Because even Japan is still dealing with the newness of the console characters, whether it's Leo or Elfeld or Sin.
Okay.
And these characters can explode your life bar in one combo.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if everybody has the experience.
How long have those characters been playable
They're
in
console
arcade?
only, and console's been out since December.
Oh, they're not in the arcade at all?
Well, they just updated it.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, they just came into the arcade with 1.1, which was a couple months ago.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So a lot of those Japanese players who maybe haven't played it on console, they're even still newer to these console characters, right?
Well, they've definitely been grinding console because of the online. They've been running lobbies to make sure that they have this experience.
Okay.
So, but there's definitely, we've seen Kazunoko play against a couple Elfelds, and it sort of seems like they're giving him issues, but it's hard to tell if maybe he's just trying to get a read on a player.
Right. Okay.
So, it'll be interesting to see.
Which characters do you think that we should be looking out for most?
Elfeld, for sure. There's at least 4 Japanese Elfeld players coming. Including Daichan, who is a really great Persona player, as well as probably the top Elfelds in the U.S., Nerd Josh, Kid Viper, Doran2K, and Hotashi from Florida.
Okay.
So they're all probably going to make a big dent, and Banana Can.
Okay. What about, like, I know a lot of people, there's, memes going around and stuff like that, but what about Leo? Like, where do you think he stands in this?
Leo is one of those characters that is hard to say because so many people play shenanigan-y Leo, so you can't tell exactly how good they are until you force them past the bullshit.
Right.
But basically, he's in 1.1. He's a strong character, and he could blow a lot of people up.
Right. Okay. Any other characters? Like I've heard, like Sin can be a problem in this one.
Honestly, I think with Ogawa coming, you have to watch out for Zato. I mean, there are at least 2 strong U.S. Zatos playing, aka and Q. Ogawa being the king of Zato. There's at least a couple, 2 or 3 other Japanese Zato players coming as well, including Sakonoko, who apparently has been playing.
Oh, really?
Sako's coming to Evo, huh?
Yep.
Oh,
I didn't even know. I didn't see him in.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did. I saw him in
cool,
SF4.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Obviously, the Milia God is coming. The Ino God is coming. So
FAB.
And then
the Potemkin God.
He's coming?
Yeah.
So
that's
the thing about FAB is that if he runs into a good Zato player, it might just be a wash.
Right.
It's still a terrible matchup.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Anything else to discuss?
No, I think that about sums it up.
Okay. Cool.
What do you want to plug?
I got to plug Tenno Productions, I Play Winner, and
Sounds
Super
right.
Desperation Radio.
Yep.
Which can be listened to where and when?
On the I Play Winner Twitch channel, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
There you go.
Which usually comes on right before the Fantasy Monday Ultra Chen show.
Hey, you guys do it every 3 months.
Yeah,
I know.
Pretty much.
But other than that, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming on.
No, thanks for going over all those stories. So good stuff.
Really appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good one. See you in Vegas.
You too.
Peace,
Bye.
sir.
Peace.
All right.
Okay.
So I guess we're gonna take a break. Did you manage to hear back from Rip?
I have not heard back. Actually, I just see that I have quite a few messages on the old telephone right now. So I'll let you know in just a few seconds here. No, I have not. I have not. So I've asked a couple of other people if they can help us out for the Tekken section. Haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay. So I guess when we come back, we'll just go straight into Street Fighter.
I guess that's what we'll do. So we'll come back talking about Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Okay. Be right back, guys.